Could either you or Dean describe for me the agreement or how the...
yeah, I agree. I can't take exception with anything John said. Maybe I'll talk a little bit.
Yeah, please do.
The Solid Waste Agency is a partnership between the 9 towns in Sac County and the county at large. So we have 9 towns, and one of the council people is representatives on that commission, and then we pick up 4 at large from the townships throughout the county. So there's 13 members. And so it's Sac City's landfill, it's the county's landfill. It's more than, I guess what I'm saying, maybe to the audience, it's a bigger issue than just Sac City. Depending where I sit in the county, people have different attachments to the recycling center or to the Howard Center, but most of it's really favorable. I've been on the Board of Supervisors, and one of my duties is I chair the Solid Waste Agency, so I'm not part of the commission, but I'm involved with it. A little background, most landfills have a manager that's paid a salary to manage the landfill. Our organizational chart is I chair the Solid Waste Agency, so I have some weekly duties or some responsibilities. It's one of my more pleasant jobs as a supervisor. And Larry Mailer and JB are 2 employees out at the landfill, and Renee Rowland is our part-time secretary bookkeeper. And if we have a manager, so to speak, that would probably be Keelan Pear, our engineer. They have a very hands-on responsibility of running the landfills, especially with, like Jerry, if you had a question about that 25%, it's kind of complex. And Keelan Pear, their employees that work with us could explain that very well.
Is that still Ivan Dressler?
Yeah, and Tom Graff, Ivan's one of the top, the person we do the most with. Tom Graff's a younger member of the group, and sometimes he's easier to get a hold of, and especially like on recycling and DNR, things that involve the Department of Natural Resources. Tom's very available, and he's good to visit with. And he comes to some of our meetings. Like John said, the second year I was on the board, chairing the board, the Howard Center, in the past, every year they renewed their contract with the Solid Waste Agency. A year spins by pretty fast. And John, I can't remember exactly, but he came to the board and wondered if we could, instead of having a yearly contract, extend it to 3 years. And to make a long story short, our attorney at that time, Dave Jennett, was our Solid Waste Agency attorney, and members of long-standing on the Solid Waste Board were agreeable to that. They were reluctant because they felt they were giving up some control. And I don't know, that's the way it happened. And so we have a 3-year contract. And if the board isn't happy with what's going on with our relationship, we have a 3-year mutual agreement and it goes the other way. If John's unhappy with the solid waste, he has to give us 3 years we have a 3-year contract. We can't work out any changes amicably or agreeable with both parties. We're kind of at an impasse. But I give you a little background on it. So, like John, John's right on the money. They're very accurate in saying that for up until the last couple of years, we had kind of a fixed situation. Our costs were running between the the depreciation cost and the cost to operate minus sales was pretty constant, and then all of a sudden it started spiking up, and it went that way, and then members of from the different towns wondered, why is this going up so much? It's costing us more and more. And to put it in terms of a percentage of our operating expense, in 2007, our cost of recycling to the Howard Center was 34% of our operating budget. The next year, in 2008, it was 24% of our operating budget. And in 2009, it was almost 39%. So about 40% of our operating expense was going to recycling. And visiting with other landfills, it's really impossible to compare apples to apples, because some landfills are huge. But you talk to other supervisors of, we might, 40% was maybe a little bit on the high side to spend on recycling. So,
what would the low side of that on that?
Well, the 1 year in the last.
I mean, for other landfills, you said.
Well, it might be closer to 20% or 25%, or some large landfills would be zero. They'd be making money. We like John said, we've been processing about 800 tons to 900 tons a year, and let's say that 800 tons last year cost us the year that ended June 30th, 2010, it was it's about 132,000.